Hello, everyone. Welcome once again to Getting Real About Business, your favorite business podcast. I am Andrea Ragu. I'm also known as your virtual CFO, and my co host is Dana Hayes-Burke. She is the vision builder, and together we are Strat-fin Consulting Limited. This podcast is brought to you by the both of us, and we're here to help you get real about business and provide some real solutions to the real problems that business owners face. Welcome, Dana.
Hi, Andrea. Hi, everybody. Thank you again for joining us for another episode. I'm really excited about today's show.
Yes, so today's show is a little bit controversial, but what else is new with us, right? So, Dana and I were having this conversation about self employed versus being a business owner, right? So, what we want to talk about is to business owners, which one are you? Are you really a business owner or are you just self employed? So, that is the question that we're going to seek to answer in this episode. So, do you have a business or are you just self employed? Dana, tell us a bit about this problem.
Yes. So I know that that may sound like a really weird question, right? Are they not one and the same thing? But let's just explore what the problem is and therefore why we are having this episode. When you started your business, you're in that entrepreneur stage, right? And so you start your business with aspirations of financial freedom. You know, we hear all about the freedom of time, the freedom of money, the freedom of choice, and what to do with your days. But what we have found happening is that most business owners or most entrepreneurs simply end up with inconsistent income, with a business that if they ever stop working, it's you are never going to get any money. And so what we're seeing is that a lot of people are simply just self-employed, meaning that I have to constantly and consistently trade effort for income. And if I am unable to make that effort, I have no income. And we know that that's how it is at the beginning of your business, right? But is it supposed to be that way 10 years in? Is it supposed to be that way 20 years in? So, what is the challenge? Most business owners really don't seem to understand how to put the operational structures in place so that they can transition from that self-employed stage to truly becoming a business owner, right, Andrea?
Absolutely, absolutely. It really is a prominent problem that we see, and it's something that you and I talk a lot all the time. We see it happening so very often where business owners are struggling, and unless they put in the effort, nothing happens. And that is one of the defining differences that you described there. Having those operational systems. So why is this relevant though? Well, here's why it is relevant. It's relevant because, as Dana said, when you started to work for yourself, you had financial freedom in mind, right? You had this type of freedom to be able to do what you wanted, that type of thing. But you want stability with it. You can't just want the freedom. Freedom has to come with a level of stability, it has to come with a level of profitability, and it has to come with a level of financial independence. But when you actually doing the thing, you get inconsistent income, which is what a lot of our audience is probably seeing right now. Inconsistent income, irregular, not being able to pay yourself regularly. That is why it is so relevant. That is what is the key back now. This is how the problem is presenting itself. The problem is presenting itself in not being able to pay yourself regularly, in not being able to make that consistent income over time. When you first started out in your business, there was this nice big bump and this nice big boom that you got, right? The novelty of starting the business was really great and you got people on board. But what is happening now is that you're not getting that growth.
Yeah.
So you're stuck. There's a level of stagnation. So the way it is presenting itself is I can't grow. I can't do better than I did when I first started. Because remember, think about it, guys. When you first started, you started at zero. So anything you did would have given you growth.
Yep.
Anything you did would have looked really good. But now that you're in it and you've tried different things, you're in a bit of a stagnation. You're not able to grow. And this is how the problem now is, this whole issue of whether you're self-employed versus being a business owner. This is how it's preventing you from achieving a level of business growth. So as we get into it now, we're going to get more into some insights as to this particular problem. So Dana, let's get some more into it.
So now that we have laid the foundation, time for us to dive into the true discussion. We're not going to dilly-dally. We're getting into this discussion. And so if this is the circumstance that you found yourself in, there is stagnation, there is inconsistency in income, if there is no effort, there is no return. Why are you there? This is now the fundamental question. Why are you there? From my experience, and certainly from Andrea's viewpoint as CFO, one of the things we recognize is that you keep getting caught up in the hustle. You keep getting caught up in the likes. You keep getting caught up in the social media. You keep getting caught up in the business of doing, but not in the business of building. It's a very distinct difference. Most of the times when I work with clients, I always tell them, have you allocated time to work on your business? Not to work in it, but to work on it. If you don't make time to work on your business, guess what's never going to happen? You're not going to have the structures. You're not going to have the systems. You're not going to be able to ever transition into the place of the business is really working for you. That's the key difference of being able to move from this self-employed place and being in this, it's almost like in a perpetual purgatory. I call myself a business owner, but I never am able to transition into heaven.
Wow. That I love that analogy. It's a consistent purgatory. But Dana, if people want a little practical example, when we say working in the business, what are some of the activities that working in the business versus working on the business? Just to clarify for people.
So working in the business is really what we focus on. It's the work of delivering your products, your service, your programs to your clients. So it really involves chasing the client. So that marketing, which is where the social media comes in, because I have to post every day. Then it is the sales activity, and then it's the delivery activity. So for most business owners, you only think that my business is only relevant. The only relevant parts of my business are those three things: marketing, sales, and delivery. But if you don't put your systems and structures in place in your business, you can't do any of that. I want you to consider the grocery store, right? Just an example. The grocery store is in the business of selling products to customers. But do you recognize that the grocery store has a whole bunch of people who never see the customers? They are the ones who are doing the administrative tasks. They are the managers who are making the decisions and doing the strategic planning. They are the people who are in the background ensuring that the machines work and ensuring that the IT is working. They are working on the business. This is what you need to ensure is happening. What's going on in the background to ensure that your front is okay?
And just to further that analogy, to make sure, guys, to close this gap, Dana has described the grocery store, right? Those main grocery stores, those big chain grocery stores. The parlor is the opposite. Do you realize your neighborhood parlor, if that person is not sick, if that person is sick, the parlor is closed? If something happens to that shopkeeper, that's it. The business is done.
Done.
So that is the analogy that we want you to understand, the difference between owning a business and being self-employed. Yes. So think about that analogy of the shopkeeper versus the grocery store. Your neighborhood parlor, you know when something is wrong because the parlor you ran your custom going 3 o'clock. When you went 3 o'clock, they were closed. Why? Because they probably had to go and pick up their child, or the child's school called and they had to go, or somebody is sick and they had to close. Versus the grocery store, dependable, always open 9 to 6. You could go in there whenever and get what you need to get. So if this is speaking to you guys, this is why we were here, to help you identify where you are. And that's why the episode is a question. Are you self-employed, or are you self-employed, or do you own a business? So Dana, having said that, we want to get into one of our favorite segments called Fakery in the Bakery. And in this segment, what we like to do, we like to basically bring out this some little humorous side, but basically bring out the things, the fakeness in this whole thing, where you think what something is, it really is not, right? So for today's Fakery in the Bakery, in keeping with this topic, here's what I want to say to those of you that are in this space. So fakery in the bakery, as it pertains to being self-employed versus owning a business, is you want the 5 and 6 figure business deal. So you want the 100,000, the 200,000 business deals. You want those big business deals. But here's the but. One, you have no business email. You're not a business email. Your email is still joe@gmail.com, right? So we have no business email. We don't even have business WhatsApp, right? So we still answering from our personal cell phone number. And the Facebook page, we must have DMs or messages in order for our process to start. Somebody always have to DM you to get information, because we don't even have a proper, whether it is a digital storefront or a physical storefront. We don't even need, let's not even go physical storefront. Your Facebook page, you can't even find out anything, right? So you want the big business, but you don't even have that. Two, the second thing that you don't have, a business bank account. You are still number two, you're still receiving money in your personal bank account. I'm going to repeat that one. You are still receiving money in your personal bank account and you have not opened a business bank account. And this one is especially for the sole traders, because I know the first thing they're going to jump out and say is, well, I don't have a company. I'm just a sole trader. There is something called a sole trader bank account. Go and get one, right? So Fakery Bakery is, you want to have big business, you want to do these things, but you are still telling people to pay you in your personal bank account. And the last one that I like, my personal favorite. You want big business, you want the five-figure deals and the six-figure deals, but you are still sending invoices using Microsoft Word and Microsoft Excel. People. That is the height of fakery. You cannot be serious about being a business owner if you are still coming onto your desktop to create something in Word or create something in Excel to send somebody an invoice, where the customer is asking you, well, can you send me a quote or can you send me an invoice? And you tell them, well, I have to wait till I get back home when I'm on my laptop, because I have no accounting solution. I have no invoicing solution that I could just reach in and I could send you something electronically, right? And just to link all the three together, when you create the invoice on Word, you're sending it from your personal Gmail account, joe@gmail. You say, please see attached, and you attach a Microsoft Word document. That is the height of fakery in the bakery.
Yes.
Right? These are the things that scream, I am not a business owner. And I am just self-employed, just plodding along, with what I'm doing, right? So fakery in the bakery is, you want to be up there with the big businesses, and you want to be up there with, keeping up with the Joneses, as they say, and have fancy business, but you don't even have these basic things in your business structure that propel you for growth, right? So you don't have a business email, you don't even have a separate business WhatsApp. You're still asking people, DM me to get details. You don't have a business bank account. And like I say, my personal favorites, you don't even have an invoicing solution, and you're sending people invoices on Excel and Word. Yeah. Come on, guys. that is fakery in the bakery.
Absolutely. And so I'm pretty sure that right now there are a lot of ouches. I know that it's causing you some introspection, right? And so we're not being mean, but what we really want to do is to match your reality with your expectation so that you can start making different decisions, right? So this is not just about hurting your feelings. This is about, let's be real about what this is about, right? You can't say that I'm a business owner. And let me just say this as we get into what are the strategies you need now to look at and the actionable things that you need to consider. You don't want a situation where I am forward presenting in my marketing that I'm at a certain level. And when persons reach out to you, their interaction, your delivery tells them that you're not ready yet.
That you're not serious. Fancy Facebook page, nice Facebook page, but when you reach out, the experience begs otherwise.
Yeah,
It does not match what you're out there.
ready
You
yet.
correct. You make it seem like it's so much more. And I want to share something relatable, right? Very early on, when I started this business, I wasn't even your virtual CFO. I started under a different business name, right? And that's just to tell you how your business evolves and the different iterations of your business. But despite my name changing, despite my brand changing, one of the very first things I did way back when was to get an email address, a proper email address. And then the second thing I did was introduce a appointment booking. Back then, I think I probably used Calendly, right? But the point is, I had this system where if you messaged me and you asked, well, I'd like to learn more about your services, I sent you a link to book a call, to book a consultation. And I remember somebody who knew me from way back when said, hey, Andrea, I heard that you're on your own now and that you're doing this thing and I'd like to learn more about it. I said, sure, no problem. I said, but I can't talk right now because they called on my personal number. I said, well, I can't talk right now. I'm in a bit of something. I'm going to send you a link and you could book a consultation. And the person said, wow, all of that? Wow, all of that fancy thing? I was like, well, this is how I'm running my business. It is a business. And this was very, very early on. And guess what? The person never messaged. The person never booked the call. I was not disappointed because it said more about the person than it said about me, right? Because it said to him, I'm serious. And what he said to me, he is not.
Not serious. And so it means you have established how you are meant to be perceived, and your
correct
systems support what you have established in terms of your forward-facing presentation. And so we have to be really careful about that, especially in the entrepreneur space, and especially because we're in the social media era. We like to talk CEO, but not be CEO. We like to talk ownership, but we're not owners, right? So we got to be real careful about that. We cannot be talking about 5 and 6 figure deals when we're not equipped for $100 deals. Let's just be real about it.
Let's just be real about
that.
But
to marry vision, I am the vision builder. I believe in vision. But I constantly say that your present must prepare for the vision. So I can't get there if I am not taking action here.
And you don't have the proper systems. The systems support the vision.
The systems. So you have to think, you build now for where you want to be. It's like building a house, right? You have the plans. The plans are what I'm going to do. You have your drawings, but you have to build the foundation before you get there. So what are the foundational things that you need? Step 1, you got to have a plan. And so I'm going to use 2 words here: strategic planning, which we don't like to use with our micro businesses, but strategic planning that helps you to build out your business model. And so, Andrea, we definitely know we're going to do an episode on business models at some point. But your business model is your framework for your business. So right now, the reason that you are self-employed is all you see is the product that you presently sell. So you're like that guy, that long ago salesman who used to come. I remember in my community, we had someone who would come in a van selling clothes, and you go from neighbor to neighbor to neighbor. So you have one thing and you're peddling your one thing, but you don't see the next thing, or you don't see the backward integration or the forward integration. You don't see the tangential thing that you can put in place. You're not seeing any of that. All you're doing is peddling your piece of clothing. And so you now need to start thinking, what on earth am I building? What am I building? And if you're not sure what you're building, this is the year of the Lord 2025 that we're recording this podcast. You got the internet, you got every AI tool that there is. Go and look for a bigger operation that looks like what you want to build and start reverse engineering what you need. I'm sure Andrea told her story and she said, you know what, I had my email address and I had my booking calendar. That didn't come out of thin air. You looked at other people's operations and said, yeah, no, this is the level I want to operate on. So if you're in fitness, if you're in nutrition, if you are in artisanal products, if you are in decorating, if you are an event planner, there are models. There are models. And so you got to stop seeing yourself as this one little thing and start thinking, what am I building? What's my business model? And start planning for it now. I work with companies, right? How am I able to work with companies? Because I have systems in the background that when you contact me, this is how we go through this process. This is how we are engaging me for this particular delivery of this particular service, whatever it is. And then I go and I want to work with other people and I'm trying to bring them on board. And to Andrea's point, I'm like, why you have nothing in place?
Correct. Imagine you are trying to collaborate with someone and you ask them for something like, can I get a simple bio from you? Can I get some kind of proposal from you? And we are getting things in Word. We're getting things in typed up in Word. How are we to present this?
You have nothing.
Oh, well, yeah, worse yet, you have nothing. So we get crickets on the other end of the line, and it's because we're following up. Well, can we get something from you? And there's nothing, right? You have to think about these things, because if you're putting yourself out there, and we go back to the fakery in the bakery, you want the big things. You want to be successful. But these are the small things that you have to start with that allow you to receive, that allows you to receive that big business. Because trust and believe, in order for you to get that 5-figure deal, that's not going to come from small customers. That's going to come from some sort of corporate entity or some sort of major exposure that is going to be looking at you and saying, we can't even get proper paperwork from you. We can't even get a proper proposal from you. Yeah. Right? The proposal is in the shape of an email. Where's your bio?
You have to be careful about that. And that's what we're talking about, the planning aspect, working on your business. So just to tie it in with the working on your business, that preparation does not come from the current sale. It comes from where you think you're going.
Absolutely.
So because I know where I'm going, I have my portfolio ready. Because I know where I'm going, I have my templates ready. Because I know where I'm going, I have an invoicing system, or I have whatever it is that I need to have in place. I have an email address. So even though I started my business with 0.0% clients, I have a domain, because it's not where I'm starting, it's where I'm going.
It's where you're going.
So step one, what's your first thing? Where are you going? Start planning. Start thinking about what other people have in place and put the low-hanging fruit things in place. That's my first suggestion. Andrea, passing it over to you to give them part 2.
Number 2, the second solution. The financial systems, guys. That invoicing and accounting solution is so critical to preparing your business for the future. First, let's just even get into the basics. Apart from preparing, just knowing what's happening in the business right now, right? Apart from being able to provide a good experience to your customer, apart from being able to provide that good experience and be able to send a professional looking invoice, you will now have data about your business that allows you to make decisions, right? Data that you cannot get from Microsoft Word or Excel. Because think about it, after doing all these invoices in an Excel template, right? I've seen them. There isn't any that I have not seen. Each tab is a new one. You have option one. Each tab is a new one, so you end up with a workbook that have 100 different tabs, or you have one and you just keep overwriting. You just keep overwriting and printing and sending that out. Where is the data? If you want to find out any financial data about your business, you don't have it properly readily available. You don't have it in an organized fashion. So the financial system is critical, not just for the customer side of the experience, being able to easily give your customer an invoice, but it's also for you as well, for you to understand the numbers of your business so that you make better decisions about your business and be able to take your business to the next level. So that's my point number 2. And point number 3 is consistency, right? Have a strategy to keep your sales consistent and stop chasing the algorithm on social media, please. Stop chasing the likes, stop chasing those things, but rather sit down and understand your customer behavior so that you could be more consistent with how you generate your sales.
Exactly. And you see that one in particular, stop chasing the algorithm. We are in a glorious time when marketing becomes easier, right? Marketing is easier. But one of the things that I'm seeing happening is that there's no marketing strategy. There is a social media strategy. And what do I mean by that? It means that today, the owner of X platform says, well, literally it's an X platform, but you know what I mean, XYZ platform says, we like reels. And so you abandon all visual graphics and go doing reels. And then they decide, you know what, we like articles, and you run after articles. But how is this working? How have you no system of understanding how to constantly get sales from your customers? And that is what keeps you self-employed. Because every day you're trying to figure out how to social media post to land a sale. But any true business owner understands that social media is not the main way of landing sales on a consistent basis.
So Dana, I loved how you brought that final solution together. Being able to beat the algorithm, being able to see beyond the algorithm and see your business beyond the social media platform and build the business for the customer that you have, not for the social media platform. So this brings us to what are our takeaway actions coming out from this show today. So we're answering the question of, are you a business owner or are you just self-employed? Here are some of the moves that you can take. This is our From Hustler to CEO segment, and this is where we give you that takeaway action that you can do to really make those shifts from, well, being self-employed to being your own business owner. So what are some actionable steps? I'm going to lead off with the first one. Sign up for invoicing software for me, please. For me, please. Guys, there are so many free ones. I don't even want to, and I'm saying free because I know the first thing people say, well, I don't have money to pay for a fancy solution. I cannot begin to tell you, if you go and look free invoicing solutions right now, I guarantee you'll get at least 5 or 6 that will work for us here in our territory, right? You will get the basic functionality of being able to put your name, customize it, put in your information, put in your customer information, and at least be able to invoice it and be able to send it to your customers. So your first action is sign up for an invoicing solution. You could start off free, right? Start off free, find one. My personal recommendation is Zoho Invoicing. Why? Because it's free and it's very easy to use, and it integrates well with their accounting solution, Zoho Books, where they have all of the different functionalities. But check it out and sign up for an invoicing software immediately.
Immediately. So after watching this episode, nobody should be sending out any Excel and Microsoft Word that you converted to PDF, but we
Correct.
do. It's Excel and Microsoft Word. Just that you.
And when they do it in Excel and they convert it, they don't remove the grid line. So I know it is from Excel.
So we know, okay? And nobody knows, it doesn't matter. We know it does matter because it puts you in a particular catchment. Okay? That being said, let me move on to my point. The second thing I want you to do, I really want to relate to now your consistency element of things. And I want you to work on your business. So here's what I'm going to ask you to do. I want you to sit down and map out your customer process from finding you to buying from you. Yes, I want you to think about all your touch points. I want you to think about all the steps that they have to go through, and I want you to write it down. This is your first activity in working on your business, because the only way you can make more sales is to optimize what is already working and to eliminate whatever blockages might be popping up along the way. When I work with clients, that's something that we do. We map out the process because you want to make it as streamlined as possible. Just a quick example. The reason that we go through the journey that we go through every time we shop on Amazon is because they went through and they optimized and streamlined the process. In fact, that's why when there are certain items you're buying, you would see them give you the option to subscribe. Why is that happening? Because they went through their customer buying process and their customers' buying patterns. They recognize that this person is buying these, or people buy these things month after month, and they gave a subscription option. Why don't you have that in your business? Or why can't you have that in your business? Because you have not mapped out your customer's process. So that's your working on your business activity.
And the final thing to tie it all together is automate where you can. So my first point of signing up for the invoicing software, immediately that's adding an element of automation into your business. Because with the invoicing software, once you take the time to set it up, it's done. Every time thereafter, you are generating stuff within a few clicks, as opposed to coming back on a spreadsheet and having to type things all over again, right? Dana just talked about mapping out the customer process. When you look at that process, you are going to see where things can be automated. So, for example, I gave my personal example about how I use Calendly at the beginning of my business, and even all through now. I use Google now, but the process is the same. If you would like to book a consultation, there's no DM. If you DM me, I will respond with, "Hi, thank you for reaching your virtual CFO. If you'd like to book a consultation, here's the link." That's it, right? And you take the link and you book and you go forward. So there will always be spaces in your process where you can automate. So you could automate how people reach out to you. You could automate the invoicing. You could automate elements of how you interact with the social media, right? Doesn't have to be your personal effort every single time. So definitely take a look at your process and find these tools where you can automate. We live in the age of the internet. There is nothing that you cannot do with an app or some sort of automation, some sort of element of technology for you to do your business better.
And let me just probably land this point with this consideration, that your automated systems give you the feel of a big business. And that now helps to enhance your image of not simply being self-employed, but now a business owner that can attract the big business bucks. That's what we want.
Dana, that was a great way to end our show today. Guys, thank you so much for joining us. Today, we answered the question, are you self-employed or are you a business owner? We hope that you take what we said today and really analyze yourself and analyze your business to see where have you landed. If you are still on the self-employed side, please follow the steps that we gave you to make that shift onto being a business owner and to grow your business to the next level. So follow us, subscribe so that you don't miss our upcoming episode. Always remember, our episodes drop on the first and the third Thursday of the month. So please look out for us. Subscribe to our YouTube channel so you never miss another episode, and we'll see you at the next one.